All right, guys, we are back with Cad on the mic. I got a really great guest here today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, my name's Anisha and I'm an author. I've written a poetry book called Where Do I Begin and a children's book called The Light to My Soil.
That is so cool. It's the first author we've actually had on this show, and is I couldn't have chosen a better person because seriously, I cannot wait for this. I was like, I cannot wait to do this one. So,
Oh, thank you.
of course, we're just gonna start out with how long you've been writing books for, or just being an author.
Yeah, so I've been an author since I'm 16. I'm 18 now, so I
Mhm.
haven't been an author for that long, but it feels like it's been a long time. Um, but yeah, I actually started writing like when I was in elementary school, but I didn't actually like considering publishing anything until I turned 16.
That's so cool. That is awesome. Because everyone writes when they're in elementary school, but then the very few really take it far. And honestly, I have so much respect for them because I work in a library, so I'm surrounded
Yeah.
by books all the time. And-
Yeah, it's funny because like I'd always like thought like publishing would be, something cool to do. But the real reason like why I actually decided to publish was kind of unfortunate. I tore my ACL playing soccer.
oh no!
Yeah, and this was in May of 2023. So it was the end of my junior year. So I couldn't play soccer my whole senior year for like club or high school. So I was like devastated. Um, but I was like spending the summer on my bed because I was like in my family room. I couldn't even
Mm,
go up my stairs to my actual
wow.
room. Um, and so um, I was like in a bad mindset and I didn't want that to, continue on. So I was like, why don't I try something that I haven't done before? Let me like try one of my goals that I hadn't been able to um, do while I was playing soccer. And that was where I shifted gears towards writing. And so I started kind of like writing some poetry, testing the waters. And then I was like, you know what? This could actually like turn into something. And then I set some goals out and then I had published my book by August of 2023.
That within a few months too. That is
Yeah.
impressive. Wow,
Yeah.
and very inspirational too. Um,
Yeah.
you and I both had really bad summers for like like injury wise for
Yeah.
2023. I broke my foot in June of 2023,
Oh
and
goodness.
there was so many things I couldn't do. And I was I'm an actor, so I was in a
Yeah.
show, and there was a running scene, and I couldn't do the running scene. It was the worst, and I actually, ironically, I broke it playing soccer.
Yeah. Yeah, 2023 was not the best year in terms of sports for me.
Yeah, I can relate to that one. But you utilize your time way better than I did because I was just like, this is awful. I don't. I want to be better, but you turned into something good, and I that's massive props to you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it was all me. I had
Hmm.
help. My cousin helped me out. She kind of like pushed me to like keep going with like actually like committing to writing an actual book.
Hmm.
So I like spent late nights with her, like sometimes until like 11:30 midnight, just like writing and cranking it all out. So I have to shout her out on that one. But
that
yeah.
I mean, if we're shouting out cousin, I'll shout out mine too, because he keeps me going on YouTube. He's like, yo, Sean, yo, let's go. We're gonna record this video today. Yo, you want to play a game today? We're gonna record this game. I'm like, I'm tired, but we'll do it. And it's
Yeah.
always a fun time. And those are your biggest supporters, either your friends or even your family, like especially cousins. They
Yeah.
really seem to like support you with that, and I love that so much. Now, speaking of inspirations, do you have any author like inspirations?
So that's kind of like the funny thing, because like if I'm being like completely honest, I didn't read that many books growing up. Um, I it was like seventh grade, and I had a friend who dragged me into watching my first Marvel movie. That was Spider-Man Homecoming.
Okay, that's a good one.
And yeah, I watched that movie and that like feeling I had after the movie, I was like, this is so cool. I want to be a part of this fandom. So Marvel was like my first big fandom. And I kid you not, like after I watched that movie, like I would not shut up to my friend. Like I binge watched all the Marvel movies that were out. Because I was just like so into it. I was like, "Oh, where was this the rest of my life?" Um, and so that was kind of like my first big inspiration because I was like, what if I could write something as cool and invigorating as this?
Mhm.
So more so films have been like my bigger inspiration, but I would say it would probably have to be Spider-Man Homecoming.
Honestly, that's like, uh, it's an overhated film. All the film bros everywhere else they hate on that a lot, but
Yeah.
I love that movie. I love all the Spider-Man movies because Spider-Man is my
Yeah.
comfort superhero. Love him. I relate to him a lot. And Homecoming, I actually didn't get to see that in theaters. My first Spider-Man movie I saw in theaters was Far From Home. Far From Home.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not counting like Civil War, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
first like official Spider-Man movie. And I remember I'm like, this is my favorite superhero right here. This is my guy. And I used to have a Spider-Man little Lego thing on my desk. I had to move it recently, but
Yeah.
that, and also it's more of one of the more Marvel lighthearted films.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you have deeper ones like Civil War, Winter Soldier. Now, would you say Homecoming is your favorite Marvel film, or is it you got a different one?
No, I don't think it wouldn't be my favorite film. That's kind of a hard one because there's so many good projects out there. But I I think Civil War is one that I could like if I had to like be locked in a room all day, that's the movie I'd watch. Like I don't know why, but something about that film was just it was just peak.
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's watching that for the first time. I saw that I was able to get like a midnight premiere thing to go to
Yeah.
there. And I remember watching that. It was in the weirdest theater ever. Like tickets were like $6. Like in 2016 too. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah,
And I just remember
right.
like, wow, I being blown away. I couldn't stop thinking about it for the next like 2 months until it came out like on
Yeah,
DVD. I was like, I need to watch this again.
I know.
But do you want to talk about some of your books that you have?
Yeah, so my poetry book, where do I begin? That one's a more personal book of mine,
Hmm.
obviously, because it was when I wrote or tore my ACL. So that poetry book is about my life up until the age of 16, kind of giving my perspective of like how I've experienced things in the world. Because I'll just say I have not had a normal experience. I've definitely had a lot of ups and downs that have like caused me to, I feel, mature earlier than
Hmm.
most people. And I've been told this, like, even when I was like in elementary school or like middle school, people were always like, you're so mature for your age. It's like, yeah, I've been through stuff. um, so that one's kind of a more personal experience. Um, and just like an expression of my life in the form of art. So I was really, really happy to get that out because also at the same time, it was kind of like an emotional release for me. Um, and it really changed the way that I saw the world, especially now. So that's that book. And then, kind of like backing off of that book, I got the idea for my children's book while I was doing some events for my poetry book. So I got the opportunity to go to a few elementary schools and share my poetry book. And I had already kind of had like an idea for a second book, but I didn't know if it was going to be like a chapter book or another
Hmm.
poetry book. But when I got the opportunity to talk to a lot of kids and kind of just be in that environment again, I was like, this has to be a children's book. So The Light to My Soil is about friendship and what it means to be a good friend. Because when I was going through my whole ACL experience,
Hmm.
I had a lot of like disconnects with people. I kind of started to realize like who actually was my friend, who was there for me when I needed it and who wasn't. So that was kind of a also, very emotional time for me trying to
Hmm.
process all of that. But I thought, this would be a good message to instill into little kids, especially since like I'd experienced so much through sports and whatnot, growing up and having different relationships with like friends and people like that. So that's kind of how I wrote my children's book, and I had a great friend of mine in high school who was an artist illustrate that one. So that's a little
Whoa,
bit about both the books.
that's a cool little backstory there with your friend. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No, but I totally get what you mean. It's like when something like that happens to you and you can't see your friends for a while or anything, you do tend to see people's true colors, and you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, wait a minute. That's weird. I'm gonna have to look more into that later, but that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But no, I relate to that so much just because like I had that similar experience. Of course I couldn't. I had to be out of the house, and oh, going up the stairs with a broken foot is not the most fun thing in the world.
Yeah.
It really isn't, especially when I first broke it. Didn't know I broke it, and I went to go see Across the Spider Verse.
Oh,
So
okay.
I saw that with a broken foot, not knowing it was broken.
Yeah.
But that's so cool. And did you ever think you were going to be writing children's books, a book or children's book? Sorry.
No, honestly, it was kind of just like where the idea took me because like as a creative person, um, usually most of the time I don't know where my ideas are going. It's
Hmm.
kind of like I'll just be like sitting somewhere and I'll see something and I'll be like, you know what, I need to write that down. And then I'll sit on it and think about it later and I'll be like, okay, you know what? Yeah, that will work. But I think especially writing a children's book because, you know, I don't want people to feel the way that I've felt
Hmm.
in certain moments of my life. So just kind of like giving that message out to kids just meant a lot to me. So
That's awesome. And it's
yeah.
also what you saying when you found an idea or you see an idea, you write it down. It's really good advice. Anyone who has an idea or gets an idea by looking out in public, write that down because trust me, you will
Yeah.
forget it when you get home. A
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. My notes app is like filled to the brim. No one should ever see that.
That no, you and me both. My notes app. No, actually, I have it on Google Docs, and every time I see a new idea, think of a new idea, I just make a new Google Doc because I'm like, I'm not gonna find it in this one. I need to make a new one. So
Yeah.
there's just so many new ones. Some of them are just blank because I just forget. I'm like, well, that's a shame.
Yeah,
um,
I know.
you actually did answer my next question was about your life experience about writing with them. So you answered that one. So that was a good one. Out of the poetry and the children's one, of course, you can say both. Of course. Do you have a favorite?
Um, I think, well, as I continue to write more books, I definitely think that I'll always cherish my poetry book.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've learned so much from writing the poetry book and writing the children's book and the processes. Um, and they're not perfect, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But the motivation and the determination that I had going into writing my poetry book will just always be something I remember because it will just always be a sign of, you know, like whenever things get hard, whenever life changes and doesn't go the way that you expected, there's always something out there for you to do. And even if it feels like you're on the wrong path, you're probably still on the right path.
That's words of wisdom, words to live by. And very inspirational too.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. And besides being an author, what else do you like to do? Of course, besides liking Marvel and soccer.
Yeah. Well, actually, the kind of dream for me is to start working in film and TV one day. So I'd like to take my writing there, maybe even like direct and stuff like that. Because
Okay.
again, I get most of my inspiration from watching films. And especially for most people who are visual learners, I think it's much easier to, you know, feel and experience the emotions that you see in films versus kind of trying to picture your this world through words. Funny enough, coming from someone who writes and is an author. But yeah, I'd love to work in film and TV and create a movie one day or something like that. So
So,
yeah.
like, have you ever written like a short film before, or?
So I've kind of done some short films, but those were mostly for like class projects.
Hmm.
So I was like in broadcast media for like 4 years, 1 year during middle
Cool.
school, and then 3 years during high school. So I have like experience in like editing and like writing and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And funny enough, now that we bring this up, I had this like horror short film that I made and submitted to my teacher for an assignment, and then she was like, after I submitted that, she was like, "Oh, you should definitely make horror films." She's like, "This is like an
Yo.
Alfred Hitchcock thing going on," and I'm like, "Really? You really think I should make horror films?" So I I don't know, but that's kind of like where I would go with like films and stuff like that. I'm kind of going in that direction anyways with the new ideas I have coming up with the books that I'm trying to write. So
That I love because also when you have somebody like an authority figure like a teacher say, "Yo, this is really good. You
yeah,
should do something more." It inspires you. It makes you feel something inside. You're like, "Oh wait, you like this," and you're not being
yeah,
biased because
exactly.
it's a teacher. They will tell you if you know what's wrong, what's not wrong. But if they love it, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Whoa, wait, I might have something big on my hands right here. Let me take this
yeah,
opportunity to do it." Um, I mean, hey, look, if you ever need an actor, I got you. I
yeah,
got you. But that's so cool though. Because like I'm in the same way. Like I want to go into like the film industry, be an actor and all that. And I love directing. Directing. I just directed my
yeah,
first video 2 weeks ago actually,
yeah,
and it was the first time ever directing something, and I was like, because I'm usually in front of the camera, but this time I wasn't, because I didn't write this. This is another thing we wrote,
yeah,
and I said, yeah, I'll film it and I'll direct it. And I was like, this is actually fun. I like
yeah.
directing, so that might be something I want to get into as well. But that's super cool. What was the horror film about?
Oh gosh. It was like about me being in my room. Because I didn't, it was like a one-man show. Like I was
Hmm.
directing and acting in it.
Nothing wrong with
It was like
that.
me being in my room. I was like making a collage. And I had killed someone and put them in my vent. And yeah, it was kind of just really dramatic. And then I what was it? Yeah, and then I was like doing stuff in my room, and then someone rings the doorbell, and I'm like trying to make sure that they don't come become suspicious that I'm doing anything weird in my
Hmm.
room. And then I just end up killing that person too.
It's a dark horror film, but it's a horror film for a
Yeah,
reason, and that's
yeah.
awesome.
But more so of the story, I was like way more obsessed with like the camera angles of it
Hmm.
all. Like the one thing that I remember about that film was like I put my phone, I don't know why I took this risk, but it paid off. I
Hmm.
put my phone on my ceiling fan and spun it to get like an overhead spinning shot of like me being on my bed just chilling after killing two people.
That is such a cool lighting, not lighting, a
Yeah.
camera angle. I never even thought about putting like a phone or even like a camera on the ceiling fan, and just kind of spinning that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, and it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, it did
Wow,
because she liked it. So
that's
I
awesome.
succeeded.
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to mention this because I saw this and I thought it was the coolest thing. You met Mur from Practical Jokers. How did that go?
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was like an out of body experience. Like
Hmm.
it was so funny because I kid you not, the night before I went, I'm just scrolling on Instagram and then I see that he's posted that he's going to be in Sacramento, and I was like my Barnes and Noble over here. And then I was like, I ran to my mom and I was like, "Hey, do you see this? Do you want to go? Like, should we go?" And this was like she was like almost half asleep. She's like,
Hmm.
"What?" and then and then I was like, "Let's go." And then she's like, "Okay, yeah, we'll go." So then we went and we were waiting in line. And then someone brought we were waiting in line, and then someone brought a picture of, who was it? Was it Joe?
Hmm.
Yeah, it was just a big cardboard cutout. And so he ended up like started signing that, and he went off like in a tangent before we actually got the books.
Oh.
But anyways, like eventually I got to him and I like gave him a hug and everything. And I brought my children's book. I was able to give him my children's book, which is super exciting. And I was like, hey, like here, this is this children's book. Like, can we do like a book exchange? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, who should I send it out to? And he's like, oh, you can just do me. I know it's a children's book, but I'll read it. So I was like, awesome. Gave him the book, took the picture. It was crazy, but
that
he has my children's book. I've succeeded in life.
that is so cool. I've met Mur a couple of times, and he is just like the sweetest dude ever. Like he will talk
Yeah.
to you. Like if he wasn't under like a time constraint thing, he would talk to you for hours. That's how nice he
Yeah.
is. I met him at every time ever since I've been going back to Comic Con in New York. I met him every single time with a bunch of friends just because he's so cool.
Yeah.
And this was the first year I went actually as a content creator. Like, I was a content creator in the past, but I didn't really go to Comic Con specifically for that.
Yeah.
And Mur asked, "Hey," because it was me and my one friend. We were the only two there for the day that he was there. And he's like, "Oh, who should I make this book out to?" And it was only me and my friend. I'm like, I gave our YouTube channel name Cereal Milk, and he thought that was hilarious. He's like, "Oh, what is that?" And I'm like, "It's our YouTube channel." And we gave him one of our QR codes we had that for that weekend, and he subscribed to us, which was like insane. And
That's
we
amazing.
texted everyone else in the group. We're like, "Yo, he's so." They're like,
Yeah.
"No way! How did you guys do that?" I'm like, "Don't worry about how we did it. We just did it."
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, he's a really down to earth guy.
oh, he really is, and that's so cool that he like has your book too. Like that's just like a thing. You think about it every time you look at your book now, you're like, Mercer has this. He has this
Yeah.
book. That is sick. And you've done book signings, right?
Yeah, so I've done a bunch at some elementary schools, and actually this week I'm going back to an elementary school that I visited a while ago, to do a little bit of like a read aloud and signing. But
Mm.
yeah, I've done a couple at Barnes and Noble, so it's been one roller coaster of a journey.
Do you ever think of doing like book signings like anywhere out of like California?
Maybe when I'm not busy. I'm like full throttle in school right now.
Hmm.
But hey, if the opportunity comes, I will gladly take upon it and do it. I travel a lot for soccer
Hmm.
anyways, so maybe one day, we'll see what happens. We'll see what's in store later.
So you still play soccer?
Yeah, I'm playing it in college right now.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So how long have you been playing soccer for?
Oh gosh, since I was like 5.
Wow. That
Yeah.
again, massive respect for like keeping up with like a sport since like you were young. Because a lot
Yeah,
of people,
thank you.
a lot of
Yeah.
people drop it off after high school. Like, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm too old now. But that's so cool though. Even like after your injury, you're like, I'm gonna go right back, and it means you're committed, and that's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Of course. And you and I, we met through TikTok. I'm gonna mention this because I've mentioned this to
Yes.
anyone who I talk to TikTok about. What was your reaction on the TikTok ban?
Um, I was not like I was surprised, but I was not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And more so, I wasn't even like thinking just about like what was gonna happen with my social media.
Mm-hmm.
I even kind of like talked about this on TikTok when it came back and whatnot. I was just kind of like sad because I know for like not just like indie authors who self-publish like me, but like even smaller content creators. I was just kind of sad because like it's been such a life-changing platform. Like I wouldn't have been able to get the word out about my book as easily if I didn't have TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of just thinking how that was going to impact us indie authors and how we would market our books to the audiences that we were trying to target. So I was kind of like upset and nervous about what was going to happen, not just for me, but like everyone else.
Yeah.
And Instagram is good to a lot of people, but I know a lot of people don't like using Instagram for their respective reasons. But Yeah.
Yeah. The reels on there, it's so wishy washy sometimes. It's just like I don't.
Oh gosh, just don't even get me started on the comments on those videos.
Oh
Like
god,
it's
yeah. It's so bad because like everyone has. I mean, yeah, everyone has TikTok too, but Instagram is more personal. So
yeah.
people use Instagram for TikTok sometimes. Like, oh, I'm just gonna scroll through my
Yeah.
reels, and then they see that, and you're just like, okay, okay, you don't have to be so mean, all right.
Yeah, I know.
Did you ever think of like going over to Instagram Reels if TikTok never came back?
Well, I guess I'd probably have to. I wouldn't really
Hmm.
have much of a choice. There were like other apps too, like I think Lemon 8. I
That
was
was
considering
TikTok
post
owned. The
Yeah, yeah,
Lemonade,
yeah.
yeah.
So I was considering using YouTube
Hmm.
because I have video editing skills and whatnot. But YouTube's just not the same anymore since like TikTok and like
Hmm.
Musically came out. I personally like I still use YouTube for a lot of things, especially like just teaching myself about like writing stuff. It's such a
Hmm.
beneficial platform. And I tell people like, hey, like if you want to get started on writing, like you have YouTube right in front of
Yeah.
you to like start your own journey for writing. Um, but yeah, I was considering going to YouTube, not YouTube Shorts,
Hmm.
definitely not YouTube
Yeah.
Shorts.
They're
Um,
brutal. They're more brutal on YouTube Shorts than Instagram. It is
goodness,
a
it's
war
like
zone.
the funniest thing is just seeing screen recorded TikToks on YouTube Shorts.
And you can
I'm
download
like,
TikTok. So like just download the TikTok and upload
yeah,
them. Like if you're gonna steal the content, at least steal it correctly. Come on.
yeah, but yeah, that was kind of just like where I was leaning towards. But it would have probably been Instagram
Mm.
first.
No, that's fair. I was gonna go right to Instagram too, and then then TikTok came back. I still want to do Instagram content for like my content.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to start it, and I don't want to start it like stupidly. So I'm like, I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Now during that whole TikTok ban process, I know I did it. Did you just go into the app and you're like, oh well, can't do that.
Yeah. I was like, I was like, I was like trying to gaslight myself and be like, that's not happening.
Yeah,
That's like not happening at all. And then it finally like I took a screenshot of like when they put the note out
me
saying
too.
like,
Yeah.
hey, like it's temporarily like unavailable or whatever.
Mhm.
And I just remember like it's so bad because I was like subconsciously like I would just like I'd put my phone away, I'd grab it, and then I'd open TikTok and I'd be like,
Yeah.
what am I doing?
No, that night because I ate dinner kind of late that night, so I
Yeah.
went to go eat dinner and then I went to TikTok. I'm like, oh, I gotta go whip out good old YouTube now.
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right,
Yeah.
well, and then I'm watching YouTube. I'm like, yeah, I watch YouTube all the time. I watch it on my computer, so it's not the
Yeah.
same. This isn't the same at
Yeah.
all. Um, and I remember because also they were like, "Oh yeah, it's gonna go away at like 11:59." Went away
Yeah.
like EST. It went away at like 10:36. I'm like,
Yeah, it was
"That's
earlier.
yeah." I'm like, okay, well, you guys lied. Thanks for that. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I was actually on TikTok scrolling when it happened.
Yeah,
So
same. I was scrolling too.
yeah,
But I was thinking also, I was like, after like I couldn't use it, I was like, you know what? I might be fine for a few months because I can go on Twitch and watch streamers or be
yeah.
on YouTube. But yeah.
And then it came back, and you're like, okay, well maybe I could go back on
Yeah.
TikTok. I mean,
Exactly. Exactly.
now you and I we met through the Star Wars community,
Yes.
which is pretty cool actually. How did tell me a little about you and Star Wars?
Yeah. So another interesting story. So this was I got into Star Wars during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of been putting off like my friend, she was a huge Marvel fan, she was a huge Transformers fan. She basically dragged me into all the fandoms that I am in now. Um, but for Star Wars, I was kind of like putting it off. I was like, I don't know if I should watch the
Mm-hmm.
movies. And then COVID happened. And then I got COVID during the
Oh,
pandemic. So I was locked in my room for like a whole week and a half. And I was like, okay, this is my sign to commit. So I watched all the movies and I binge watched the entire Clone Wars series. And then I got to watching Bad Batch, and then I watched Bad Batch, and I was like, where's the next season? I'm ready for the next season. So she dragged me into that fandom again, or a new fandom.
Mm.
And now I just love it. Like I'm obsessed with it. I have two posters in my room, and then I have one Marvel one literally in front of me. And then I have like a shrine of like my Funko Pops that I started collecting for Marvel and Star Wars, and then like mini Lego figures of like Star Wars and everything. So
That is
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I haven't
Well,
been a fan for that long, but
hey, you
I'm
know
definitely
what?
obsessed with it.
You're a fan now. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That's all. That's and speaking of movie posters, are you gonna go see Revenge of the Sith when they re-release it in the theaters?
You know what? I okay, so my school actually ends earlier than I thought. So
Hmm.
actually I might go see it. Because I
Yeah.
originally I was thinking, you know what, like I was trying to see like when's my school ending,
Mhm.
and I like finished like end of April, like in May 2nd. So I'll probably try and go out and watch it just
Awesome.
to be like that's my end of the year school year gift for
That's what you gotta
myself.
do. I literally took off of work to go see it, and no,
Yeah.
because here it's gonna be a really weird day for me because I have that, and then I'm gonna be I'm in a show currently. Then I
Yeah.
have a show later that night, so I'm gonna be exhausted. But I know for a fact they're gonna do popcorn buckets. I don't buy popcorn buckets ever, but Revenge of the Sith
Yeah.
is my all-time favorite movie. I'm like, okay, this is an exception. This
Yeah.
is I was close to doing the Deadpool Wolverine one, very close. I actually was in talks with the guy at the counter for him, like, hey, how much is that? And he's like, oh, 35.
Yeah.
I'm like, 35 for that? And he's like, yeah, I know, man. It's kind of a rip off.
Yeah.
I'm like, you recommend it? He's
Yeah.
like, not really. I'm like, appreciate you, man. Thank you. So he
Yeah.
talked me out of it. Um, but yeah, no, you were like one of my first few followers on TikTok, and we became friends like that, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I love that, and I need to ask you your thoughts on the finale for Bad Batch.
You know, I think it was a really good ending.
Mm,
You know, there's a lot of like different takes, especially with like the films and like other TV shows that have come out for Star Wars. I think like Star Wars did it right on this one. If I had to be like picky about anything, I really feel like Star Wars did it right on this one.
I agree.
You know, obviously, I'd love to see more of like Omega and the
Mm.
Bad Batch in future shows and whatnot, but I'm just happy that it was a happy ending,
We
you
don't
know?
get many of those. We really do not get many happy endings.
Yeah.
Like there is a TikTok of me out there from May 1st of last year, me bawling my eyes out because it was happy tears because
Yeah.
I'm like I'm not gonna spoil it here, but I'm just like we no way we're getting a happy ending.
I
There's no
know.
way because everyone suspected the worst. Like, oh, they're all dead. They're not in
Yeah.
rebels or anything. And I'm like, I don't like that sentence there, but I can't argue because I guess we would have saw them,
I
and
know.
I do have a feeling we will see them again in the future. There's no way with how
Yeah,
popular they are still with the comic just selling out recently too. Like,
I know.
there's no way that we won't see
Yeah,
more of
I
them.
want to get that comic. Actually, it was only like 2 months ago. Oh, I have it here. I got this hyperspace
Oh,
Star Wars
nice.
comic, and it has a little section with Bad Batch in it. So I was like, I have to get it. So this was actually, I think this is my first Star Wars comic that I bought. So
Wow.
I'm trying to collect more now.
Honestly,
But yeah.
I have it right here. Let me show you. I have. Oh no. Well, that's the bag for it. I just read it recently. I got it right here.
Oh,
My
yes.
sister went to go to the store. Like she's like, "Hey, I'm at the mall. Do you need are you cuz I was filming that day." And she's like,
Yeah.
"I'm at the mall. Do you need anything?" And I'm like, "Wait, I pre-ordered the comic." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"I don't know if this thing's coming or not." I'm like, "Can you check for me by any chance?" And she's like, "I don't think we're going to have time." I'm like, can you please, like, it's gonna be real quick. And and I asked, and she's like, they got two of them here. I'm like, they got the variant cover. I'll pay you back.
Wow.
I'll pay you back. And Star Wars actually commented on my TikTok, and they were like, your sister like the best. And I'm like,
Yeah,
Oh my god. So that was really cool.
that's
Um,
awesome.
so back to the questions here. Do you have any advice for people who want to be an author?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, I could say a lot of things. I mean, again, like if you really want to like commit to writing something, I think one of the biggest things is that for creative people, we tend to be like our own enemies on
Hmm.
top of the other people out there that are judging like our craft. So do what you really want to write, and then you'll be able to find an audience from there. Don't be like pressured into writing one thing just because, oh, it's trending, or
Hmm.
oh, this is where I'm going to make the most money, right? You want to be able to write a good story that's going to connect with other people. Um, and, take it day by day. Some days you're not going to be able to write anything. And when I experience those days, usually I still consider writing like going out and just like I'll see something in public and I'll be like, you know what, that reminds me of this, and I'll put it in my notes app. And for me, that means that I'm still engaged and I'm still connecting. If I'm going out in public and I'm not like paying attention to details as much, then I know that, I'm kind of drifting away from
Hmm.
something, and then I have to see, how can I get back into it? Um, so, take it day by day and be nice to yourself when you're writing, because we can be our own enemies.
Yeah, we are our biggest critics for sure.
Yeah.
And this is the advice I've been given and even talked to a lot of other people about. Like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Just do
Yeah.
it. Just like, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah, okay, like you don't succeed, but you did it, and it's something you could look back on and be like, I did that. And that was really cool. And I can now
Yeah.
have a memory of that, like in legit form, like a physical book form. I have that memory,
Yeah.
and also I have a book. That's so cool.
Yeah.
But do you have any advice for like outlets they can go? Like,
Um, Again, like I would say, like in terms of writing, you're asking,
hmm.
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Again, yeah. So YouTube is going to be your biggest friend. I knew nothing about like how to self-publish. I literally spent, I'd say like half a month going through YouTube videos, listening to other people, whether it was on YouTube or TikTok, even Instagram at sometimes, and just seeing other people's stories, because everyone's like journey to how they published a book, it's all unique. It's all going to be
Hmm.
different. Obviously, they're like similar steps, which you can find that on YouTube as well. um but yeah, just immerse yourself with other people who have done it before, and just take what you can from that and keep going.
I love that's fantastic advice. And you again, platform you guys are watching this on right now, YouTube. After this video, if you guys get inspired by this,
Yeah.
after this video, of course,
Yeah.
go do that.
Yeah, and
um,
I also tell people, like if they ever have questions about like my writing journey or like how to do something, like I'm an open contact. Like I want to help as many people do what they want to do. So I'm free to like message people and talk about like my journey and everything.
that's super sweet because like a lot of people are just like, no, I'm like gatekeep everything, but like you're just
Yeah.
like, I want to help as many people as I can, and that's the same thing with me. Someone like for your content creation, YouTube streaming, they're like, hey, I want to start being a Twitch streamer. Advice, and I'm like, okay, well, have view count turned off, have your chat open on like somewhere else. Don't look
Yeah.
at your don't and don't be afraid to ban people because that right there, and that goes for anything. Don't be afraid to block, ban, or anything people on any
Yeah.
any site because you don't want hate, clogging up your memory, clogging up the comment section. Just and don't even respond to hate. That's
Yeah.
what they want because they have nothing else better to
Exactly.
do. So,
Yeah.
I got two more things here. Without spoiling it, of course. You have. Can you say something about the future books you're writing?
Okay. So I've kind of posted a little bit about it on my story like a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm working on a murder mystery and a psych
Ooh.
thriller. Um, my psych thriller was kind of focused on not too far ahead in the future, like 2100
Mm.
ish, kind of like the use of like AI and mental
Ooh,
health.
okay, okay. Very relevant.
So yeah, that was kind of what my psych thriller was about. My murder mystery was about I can give this away a little
Okay.
bit. But I was playing around with the title because usually when like I'm writing books, I don't know why, I always tend to come up with the title for some reason. Um, but I was gonna call that one The Hidden Orchestra.
Ooh, okay.
Um, yeah, so that one is kind of gonna be centered around um some musicians and someone orchestrates a murder.
That's awesome. I love the little pun with that.
Yeah,
That's really cool. Oh wait, that's sick. Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Well, after this interview. Oh, on Wednesday, I'm gonna order your book, your two books that you have because
Oh, thank
that's
you.
sick. Because I'm not a big reader. However,
Yeah.
I love supporting my friends. I love. I mean, I just read. That's the Bad Batch comic is the first thing I read probably in like since middle school. So
Yeah.
like book wise, I'm not gonna be like, oh, I haven't read anything since middle school. No,
Yeah.
I've of course read. I just haven't read like a thing stuff of pages.
That's
Um,
totally understandable.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Because it's like because in school they force you to read, but like
Yeah.
again, it's if you love to read, then you're gonna do it on your own time. They shouldn't be able to force you to do that. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion on that. But yeah, the last thing I have here, where can we find you on platform wise?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Anisha.author. Just really simple.
Awesome. And where can we buy your books at as well?
Yeah. So you can buy my books on Amazon or Barnes and Noble.
Awesome. That's so cool. That real quick, how do you feel like personally having a book on Amazon and Barnes and Nobles? Because that's just like, for me, that would be a really cool feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't feel like old or anything. Like
Mhm.
every time I open that link, I'm like, wow. Like that says my name, that says my book title, that has like my credits and everything. So it's so crazy. I remember like the first time like I showed it to my teacher, she was like, you have a book and it's on Amazon?" And I was like, "Yeah." And we were kind of just like both in this like shell shock moment, but yeah, it's still crazy to this day.
That is awesome, and again, I'm so happy for you. That's so cool.
Thank you.
But yeah, is there anything you want to say before we wrap up here?
Um, not really. I mean, I think we kind of covered
Yeah, I
everything.
think we
But
did.
yeah, I mean, if anyone ever needs help with writing, I'm an open book, unintended. But
Wow.
yeah, I love I love to help people. And the other thing with that is like you establish connections with people and you're able to network yourself when you have these connections too. So, I want to see other people succeed. So,
And that's how you
yeah.
be. And also, when you do that, you also like throughout time you become friends with them too,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
it's just the coolest thing ever. Like for like example, you and I, and I'm going to order your books for the library I work at. So
Yeah.
because that's just so cool, and I'm gonna tell my boss, I'm like, yo, that's my friend right there. Get on that. I know you don't handle children's books, my boss doesn't, but I'm like, you're gonna handle this one time. So
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah, no problem. But yeah, guys, all of your links will be in the description below. So guys, go click all those links. Go follow her on TikTok and Instagram, and go buy her books too because I already know they're awesome. So yeah, guys, all right, I hope you guys all enjoyed this video here. Real quick, guys, make sure you guys go subscribe to the new channel Cereal Milk. That's the channel I'm a part of with a bunch of friends. If you like just stupid things and me, if you like people dressing up in costumes and making a fool of themselves in real life, that's me. This video is going to be out by the time St. Patrick's Day rolls around. I think. Yeah, I think so. So that Sunday, I couldn't think of the word for a second. St. Patrick's Day video is out, and I'm gonna be a leprechaun. So that's gonna be fun. So you guys, thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel as well. Follow all of our links in the description below, and also go follow Anisha. This is links in the description below as well. And yeah, guys, hope you guys all enjoyed, and we'll talk to you later. See you guys.